We have been speculating about when everything will crash for more than 2 years. Well, the last 6 months have shown that it has already begun. The rising stock market is more than enough to crash with just a 1% or 2% increase in interest rates. Many businesses that saw their stock values increase twofold during the pandemic lost all of their gains and have returned to the pre-COVID levels. Anyone who sold before the crash must have made a ton of money. On the other hand, a stock market fall is not a significant concern because most of the equities are owned by the richest 10% of Americans. However, since everyone has a roof over their heads when real estate prices fall, everyone suffers. In 2020 and 2021, there was a greater than 10% increase in housing prices. Such price increases hadn't occurred since 2005 or 2006 when the housing market was on the verge of a collapse that would affect the entire economy. Additionally, housing prices are already declining as a result of the Fed raising interest rates. Will the housing crisis of 2008 occur again? Are we about to enter such a crisis? How terrible will the crash be exactly? The 2008 housing bubble was not like the current catastrophe. The housing bubble of 2008 was fueled by a variety of causes. Rating agencies issued overrated mortgage-backed securities as a result of lax banking rules. When combined with good loans, junk loans, those with the highest default risk were granted AAA ratings. The idea that these loans are solid, excellent investments that are covered by big financial institutions like AIG led investors to trade these securities. But as soon as some of these loans started to fall apart, the market crashed and huge companies like Lehman Brothers and AIG went bankrupt. Many people, however, are under the impression that the housing market is healthy since the present housing bubble is not being fueled by subprime loans or false AAA ratings. The fact that no two crises are exactly alike is something else we must consider. Every crisis or bubble is unique. When a crisis occurs and we take action to address it, we learn from the experience and do our best to prevent it from happening again, at least in the near future. Because of this, obtaining a mortgage has never been as simple as it was before the housing crisis of 2008. Therefore, it would be foolish to assume that the current crisis will proceed just as the prior crisis did. We need to examine the causes of the steep rise in housing prices as well as the likelihood that they will fall. A crisis is a possibility if there are such signs. After the housing market fell in 2008, several home builders filed for bankruptcy because it was no longer economical to build homes. Only the most reliable businesses made it through the crisis. Since the government tightened banking laws, there has been a sharp decline in housing demand, which has made it more challenging to sell homes. But since then, a lot has changed. Although banks are still subject to regulation, obtaining a mortgage isn't as challenging as it was immediately following the catastrophe. The supply of brand new homes in the US was constant. Thus, the housing market started to expand at a maximum average pace of 1% to 3%. However, if you look at the time, more and more developers entered the market when they saw that the demand for homes was at an all-time high and that mortgage rates were at a historic low. Despite the fact that the pandemic caused a severe shortage of real estate, starting in 2021, the supply of new dwellings started to increase to the point that it is now almost twice as high as it was before the pandemic. Since the Fed is simply hiking rates at every available moment, they have started reducing prices in order to be able to sell today. Lower demand results from increased interest rates, which is also result in higher mortgage rates. Low demand makes it challenging to sell your home. Therefore, it is wiser to lower prices and sell now rather than wait for the Fed to raise rates further and make it harder to sell. According to a survey, builders are lowering home prices and slowing down constructions as customers hesitate. Benefits for buyers. These are 10 cities with the steepest price reductions from home sellers. Why America's surging inflation is due to real estate. The exact reverse was happening up until February or March, when purchasers would launch bidding wars merely to be the ones who were going to buy this or that house. We have frequently seen the news about people paying 20, 30, or even 50% too much for a certain piece of land. We also believed that the world might end at this tumultuous time. We had no idea how long it would take to come back to work. The media was shouting everywhere. People became alarmed. They were hesitant to sell their houses for fear of being left out. The media is no longer focused on COVID cases, and people are returning to their pre-COVID lifestyles and selling their homes. But today, fast forward to 2022 when we are confronting issues like a real conflict in the center of Europe that is undermining the current global order. Some people took 2 years to sell their homes alone. Why sell now if prices are going to go up tomorrow? The last time we had a situation like this was in the late 1970s, during the Iranian Revolution, when energy shortages shocked the world and drove up oil prices. Inflation skyrocketed to an alarming 11.3% in 1979 and to 13.5% in 1980, before the country entered a recession. In all honesty, there are many reasons why things are a lot worse today than they have been since the time if we consider the date. First of all, Iran is not Russia. Compared to the US, Russia is substantially larger and more connected into the global economy. It exports more than simply a lot of oil. It invades a nation that is among the top exporters of wheat in the world and is the world's greatest gas supplier and exporter of wheat. Additionally, there wasn't a worldwide outbreak where we had to print trillions of dollars to force everyone to stay indoors. In January 1981, the Fed increased interest rates from their initial level of roughly 10% to 19%. Think about how much higher mortgage rates would be with the 19% interest rates. Home builders would begin declaring bankruptcy once more as they did in 2008 and 2009. This is because mortgage applications would decline so drastically. Since there won't be any more demand, people will start reducing prices further in order to sell their goods. Only those who have money will be able to purchase. In addition, more than half of home buyers use mortgage, with only 1/3 paying cash. When homeowners with poor credit records started to fall behind on their mortgages payments, values started to drop by 10% to 20%, which is another factor that contributed to the 2008 housing market crisis. It didn't make sense to continue paying a mortgage that was significantly more expensive than the actual value of the home when those who could genuinely afford their mortgages realized their $500K mortgage was now only worth $400K. As a result, they too defaulted on their mortgages. This further lowers home prices. A similar pattern is now evident. Builders are decreasing their costs this year, despite the fact that house prices rose by about 20% just last year. Mortgage applications are declining as the number of active listings increases due to rising mortgage rates. And the Fed will continue hiking rates to crash demand if inflation does not decline. Since the globe is on the verge of an energy and food catastrophe, we will also likely have a recession. As we described in the previous video, this will further reduce demand, which will drive down prices. If real estate prices drop by 10% or 15%, what will homeowners who obtained mortgages in 2021 do? Will they continue to pay their exorbitant monthly bills? After several rate increases, it cannot even reduce inflation. They run the danger of reducing rates soon. It is a recession that we must endure. The Fed is incredibly careless with its language despite consistently asserting that they are not observing any symptoms of a recession. What government says is most important. Keep in mind that in 2021, we already had evidence that inflation was out of control. but the Fed reassured us that there were no indicators of inflation at the time. However, the Fed warned the market instead of raising rates right away when it occurred. The market paid no attention, so it gave it another warning. It ignored me this time. Then it took action by raising the rates. Then they said that the US is not experiencing a recession, but now Jay Powell thinks that one could occur. Because the Fed's mission is to soothe investors and ensure that the recession is not as terrible as it could be, they wouldn't truly have faith in it. It's quite challenging to predict the future with certainty. A housing crash that is somewhat reminiscent of the 2008 crisis is now a genuine possibility, though if things continue as they are. But only time will tell what will actually occur. What are your thoughts after listening to our discussion? Please let me know by leaving a comment below, and if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to Wealth-ology for more videos like this. Thank you for stopping by to watch. See you in our next video. Bye!